go to your hair. Cut. Okay, go, Angie.
I work night shift. It's 11 to 7. I take my little girl over to her grandmother's, and she keeps her while I work. And then I come home and I sleep maybe 3 or 4 hours at the most. And I get up and take a shower, clean up, and I fix me something to eat. And I call my little girl. And then I try to get to work on Sunday night. I try to get to work about 15, 20 after 10 because we have start at night.
Talk about what this does to your relationship with your husband.
Well, John works first shift, and it kind of makes it rough. We don't see each other very much. He works first shift, and sometimes with things being rough like they are right now, he'll work 12 hours. That'll put him working till 7 o'clock at night. So sometimes I have to go in at 7, so we barely see each other at all. It puts a strain on it. You got to have a good, strong relationship to make it sometime.
How does your daughter take it?
Well, she's lucky. She's probably luckier than some of the others. She's with her grandmother, which she adores. She's been with her. She's watched her all of her life while I was working. But she gets homesick and she wants to see me. And that's why I make sure every night that I work, I make sure I call her and tell her bye and that I love her and everything before she goes to bed. And then she's pretty well happy.
So she understands the situation?
Pretty much so. I guess about as much as any 7-year-old can understand.
Cut.
Right. Let's see. It'll be all right, I think. It should. What's the number up there? Up playing. Cinderella. How many times does that make? Huh? First time. You ain't never seen Cinderella before? Are you going to spend a night up there tonight? You are. You having a good time? Well, I just wanted to call and see what you was doing. Because Mama said you was up there. Yeah. Yeah, I called down there. I love you. Bye, sweetie.
Okay, good. Now let's fake a call.
Okay.
Because I don't think that's the normal.
Hey, sweetie. What are you doing? How many times have you seen Cinderella? How's Mama doing? Well, she told me her side was hurting her right now, so you're going to have to watch after her for a while. Well, I love you too. Bye-bye. Really, our conversations are very short.
That's fine. I'm going to try it one more time, though, Jane, because you looked over here before we got through the shot, but the conversation is excellent. It's just exactly what we wanted. But what you do is, I'll put the socks over here so that when you put down the phone, you reach in and start putting on your socks.
Okay.
Okay?
Does she ever ask you what you're doing?
What you doing unless I'm getting ready for work?
Okay, that'd be good to say, too.
Up in the room.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Okay, Robbie. Okay, Jamie, move a little faster.
Hey, sweetie. What are you doing? Watching Cinderella. How many times have you watched Cinderella? How's Mama doing? She had told me her side was hurting. You be good for her. I'm getting ready to go to work. Yeah, I'll be leaving in a little bit. I miss you too. Well, I love you too. You be a good girl. And say your prayers tonight. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. That's
anytime.
action.
I just called Chrissy.
How's she doing?
Oh, she's having a good time. Looks like Christy's gonna be spending the night with her.
Ready here. Rolling.
Action.
I called Christy.
How's she doing?
She's okay. She's having a good time. She's got Christy over there playing with her, and I guess they're gonna spend the night together.
Well, her grandma's gonna have some fun then.
Yeah, well, she said her side was hurting her. You know, she had cancer, and her side gets to hurting her pretty bad sometimes. But she don't want to give up Kristen.
That's right.
She enjoys having her over there. I don't know how she puts up with the pain and two little girls acting like little girls.
That's a tough woman.
Yeah, but
What about them two?
sometimes I think Kristen's the only thing that keeps her going now. Sometimes I don't think she'd make it if it wasn't for her. You know, I've got to go to the union hall in the morning. Meet Don. We've got to go through those grievance names and see who we're going to put on the list for second steps.
When we supposed to have those second steps? Tuesday?
Do what?
Supposed to have it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Oh boy, got us off.
I do too. Did you call him?
Yeah, I did. While he was sleeping.
Well, we need to talk to him while he's awake. Tell him to go ahead and get us on off. I sure don't want to go in there and have to put up with what I've had to put up with before trying to get off him telling me that I wasn't supposed to get off.
Poor communications.
No, I've never known management to have anything but poor communications.
I know you're ready to go to work tonight, ain't you?
No, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Those 3 hours don't do very much for me. 3 hours sleep and then have to go in there and put up with all that.
You know, I'm supposed to go to court August the 10th by workman's comp.
You ever got in touch with him?
His secretary's supposed to call me tomorrow. And I thought he'd be at work. So write down the information she's gonna give you, because I know where I'm supposed to meet them at.
You're supposed to go to that Chattahoochee.
Labor Council?
Yeah, Labor Council.
Lloyd and I think that. I'm not sure.
Because of the way that it sounds kind of crazy probably, but because of the way I was treated, and especially my oldest sister, because I adored her. She was like my second mother, really. Even though she's only 6 years older than me, she was always grown up all her life, and she always took care of me like I was hers. And the way she was tortured on the school bus, walking to school, at school, I mean, it just broke my heart. It nearly killed me the way they done her. We didn't have any, much to wear. Daddy couldn't afford to go out and buy for us. And like I said, I wore a lot of hand-me-downs. And Gloria was always at her weight and her size and everything. Neighborhood women would give her their hand-me-downs. And this one particular incident, I was telling Judy about it. Gloria had got some dresses from some of the neighborhood ladies, and there was one in particular dress that was in good condition. It was red and white stripes. And I was in third grade, and she was, I don't know, she was in high school, I guess. And she had rode the school bus to school, and they were really taunting her, calling her the red and white striped elephant. And that was one thing that stood out in my mind the biggest. And I cried. She was hurt, but she wouldn't let it show. But I cried all the way home. And I mean, my heart just went out to her. I just wanted to protect her from stuff like that. Children are cruel. Grown-ups are cruel. I mean, we've been gave a hard time by grown folks, especially when we lived in Rumpmark, Georgia. It was bad up there. Grown people would say just about as bad a thing as the children would. I said, probably the kids got it from their parents, talking like that. But we had a big family. Daddy worked on a hog farm whenever I was 6 years old, making $25 in the German language. And I took the number down, but it's $30 for the tape. But I'd like to get it because I'm hoping someday. He was raised with uncles and everything, and it's the same age he is.
Right.
And so someday I'd like for us to go up there and see him if we can ever get where we can afford him, which will probably be never, but. He's unusual. I don't think I would have ever remarried again if it hadn't been. You can hear the river, can't you?
Yep.
I didn't even really realize. You smell the fish. Smell them real good. Watch this guard. Let them figure that out now.
Yeah, right. Just let me know if somebody's gonna kick me in the head, that's all.
No, well, I've got a pretty good rapport with the guards around here, so maybe they won't beat you up. Throw you out maybe, but not beat you up. We are here.
The other way.
I wish. I don't know.
You want to go in? Sure. Whatever you normally do.
Well, I usually don't get here till about 25 or 30 after.
Okay.
And we just walk to the door then?
Just walk through the door and go inside and come back.
Oh, okay.
Talk to us a little bit. I hear all this. Oh.
This is going to be the winner. Yeah. Speed. Go.
Where'd you get these tomatoes, Aunt Doris? They mighty pretty.
One of my neighbors gave them to me, Angela.
Sure are pretty. I wish my gardener did so well. I had little bitty green ones about that size. Before they started doing this movie, I didn't know anything about the history of the Union. I didn't know anything about a strike back in 1934. That's the reason I wanted you to tell me about it. I've come to you to find out.
Well, they were trying to form a union in some of the local mills, and the owners of the mills naturally didn't want the unions, and so they had the strikes, and they had the fights about it. And the union people and the mill owners were at enmity about it, and so they had quite a squabble about it. And one of the local mills, a bib mill, and I was young, but I can vaguely remember it being in the papers. And I had relatives living in Bibb City, and we were quite concerned about the
She talking about it?
situation at the time. And we lived in the country then, and couldn't wait to get the newspaper to see what was happening up here and in Columbus. And
You were real young, weren't you?
yes, I was about 13 or 14 years old when that happened. And when I went to work in the mill, then I was a little older. You had to be at least, I think, 16 or 17, and I think I was about 19 the first time I worked in the mill.
I read some awful stuff about that strike.
Well, there were some awful things happened about it. There were quite some fights, and there were reports about it and pictures made of some of it.
There was something that I was reading where they were having a meeting on the streets, I believe, in Bibb City, and there was some people shot and killed.
Well, I heard about some real bad things there. That the mill people, I think, had some guns or something, but I don't remember really all that well, but I'm sure other people remember about that.
Do you remember the National Guard being around? Tell us about that. Georgia Guard.
I don't remember. I think I vaguely remember reading that they were called in, but I'm not sure if that about that. But I know that there was quite a stir about it.
Tell about when you first learned to read when you were in the country.
Well, we were in a depression, and I started reading quite young. I started, I think, at about 7 or 8 years of age reading, and we couldn't afford to take magazines and newspapers, and I would go around and pick up cons and sweep people's yards just to get the magazines so that I'd have something to read so that I could keep up with what was going on in the world around me. And I can remember when the King of England was about to abdicate his throne to marry Wally Warfield Simpson, and I couldn't hardly wait to get somewhere where I could get some news about that, so I'd go pick up pecans or sweep yards or do anything I could to keep up with that. It was in the papers and in the magazines, the Saturday Evening Post and everything. And I really liked Wally Warfield Simpson, the way she looked, and her independence, and I was wondering would he abdicate or not, and I just couldn't hardly wait to get some news about that.
When did you first know about unions?
Well, union then, there was a lot in the papers about unions in various parts of the country along about the time that was happening in the early 1930s. And every now and then I had studied in history about this trade union starting in England and Ireland and places like that. And so I kept thinking that it was a good thing, you know, for the common person. So every time I saw something about a union, I'd just naturally read it, whether it was in this country or that country or where. But in New York City and other places, they were trying to form unions in various parts of these places, and it was interesting to me, and I'd kind of watch and see if how the outcome came, if they got a union in this place or a union in there.
Now, tell about your husband and unions.
Well, my husband worked at Lomas's Cotton Gin, and he was a union member for all the time that he was out there. And he had worked in a cotton mill that was non-union, and of course that mill is union now, but he worked, when he got a union job, he stayed with the union until he died in 1971.
What was it you told us, Aunt Doris, about Uncle Cecil getting in all that trouble? Because
well, he would couldn't stand it for somebody to call him an ugly name, and he would fight. And he twice, I think, he got laid off a little bit for that right there, and the unions helped him get back on each time. And he'd be penalized, and he'd go back to work.
But you were talking, when we were talking before, about, you were saying that you never, and I want you to repeat this, that you never were against your husband paying union dues the way a lot of wives were, even though you weren't in the union.
No, I was not. I was not opposed to him paying his union dues. I let him manage that himself, and he paid his union dues, and I didn't kick about it. And he used to try to tell me not to buy shirts for the boys, you know, said if they don't have a union label in them, leave them there. And I had 5 of them, you know, to buy shirts for, and it could have picked up some from Madrid and places like that a lot cheaper, but he said no, said you buy the union label.
Now, where did you think he got his dedication to the union?
I don't know where he got his dedication to the union, but he was dedicated. He went to union meetings, and he stayed with the union.
How did that affect you?
Well, to me, that was the way that he chose. He chose to be union, and I went along with him. And you know, the union-made garments were a little more expensive than the one that you could buy from out of these places where they made them. They didn't get a salary for making them. But in this country, where they were union-made, it made them a little more expensive. And a lot of people were opposed to that, and they said, well, I don't care what my husband said, I'm going to buy these shirts, you know, because they're less expensive.
Now, just tell us, you moved from the country, you want to tell the story, you're born in the country, but you moved into town, and why you moved into town, and then where you lived